Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello, my name is Caitlin and I post lifestyle videos and the occasional Disney video and now apparently book videos. I don't really know. Yeah, today we are doing a video that honestly I am a little nervous to film because I am about to put myself on blast here, and if my husband watches this, he is definitely going to hold me accountable to getting through this collection of items before I buy any more of these collection of items. And obviously you know from the title what this is, but I'm going to be showing you guys my entire physical TBR. And yeah, basically I have an affinity for collecting books. I feel like I'm a collector naturally. I think I have a very like collective, addictive kind of personality, which I guess can be good and bad, as you can see. But I really have like rekindled my love for reading in the last like 2 years, and over the last like 2 years essentially I have been collecting books, and I first started off with like, oh, I'll have like 5 books that I can choose from at any given time, and it has now dwindled up to about 45 to 50 books where I have not read. So it's a bit excessive, but I figured I would put this out here as my general like stop. I'm basically saying this is my TBR. These are the physical books that I have to get through before I even think about buying any more books. And there's only like 2 exceptions to the rule. One is if I am like, I have a couple books here that are series where I don't have the entire series with me yet. So those ones I will allow myself to buy the next books, possibly before I'm finished through my TBR, but I at least want to like, you know, dwindle some of it down. And then also like, I honestly just enjoy buying books, and if there's books that are on sale, or if I go to the thrift store and I find like a really good deal on a book that I have been wanting for a while, I will allow myself to pick it up. But I'm not gonna go crazy, okay? I'm not gonna go crazy, hopefully. Yeah, so I'm basically just gonna show you guys every book that I have on my shelf that I have not read yet. My shelf is obviously beside me here. I'm just gonna pull them down, show you guys, and I might talk a little bit about them. This might be a really long video, so if you can see the timestamp below, if it's a long video, go grab yourself a drink, a snack, whatever, and let's get into it. So first book I'm going to start off with is actually the book that I am currently reading. So this is currently on my bedside. This year I'm really trying to like focus on one book and get through it before I start a new book, because last year and just like forever for reading, I've always been really bad at like, I'll read a book like 30% of the way through and then I'll switch and then I'll read another book, and then I have like 7 different books on the go, and it just like, it's very chaotic, and I'm trying to be very like, okay, you start a book, you finish that book, unless it's like an absolutely terrible book, then I'm obviously not gonna read it, but I'm trying to just, you know, stay within the books that I'm starting. So anyways, first book on the TBR is A Court of Silver Flames. This is the last book in the ACOTAR series, and I have actually read the entire ACOTAR series so far this year. So this is the last book that I need to read. This is a mammoth of a book, 750 pages, and I'm on chapter 10, page 116. So, I mean, I started it. So this is the first book on my TBR. And then I also have this book. This is one that has been sitting on my nightstand because I am so tempted to start reading this one. But it is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. This went all around Book Talk last year, I think. And at first I wasn't really into it because everybody talked about how it's like a really toxic relationship, and it's just like not something like that's like, you know, it's not like a cutesy romance, you know, like it's like toxic. But Sarah Caroli, one of my favorite booktubers, these are like her favorite books. And then also I watched the show on Disney Plus, Tell Me Lies, and it sounds bad, but like I loved that show, like the drama, the toxicity, I loved watching it. I know it's not a good relationship to model after, but I loved watching it, so I want to really read this really bad. So I think this one's going to be my next one once I finish ACOTAR. Alright, here we go. So those were like the 2 that were right by me, so I'm going to stand up, pull some books off my shelf, and yeah, here we go. Okay, first I'm going to start off with all of my nonfiction books because I have a goal this year where I want to read 5 nonfiction books. I've read 1 so far, so I still have 4 left to read, and I have plenty to pick from now. So anyways, I'm just gonna read these off really quickly. But this is from Mitch Albom. Oh my gosh, I should not have started saying all the authors' names because I'm not gonna be able to pronounce everybody. But this one is called The 5 People You Meet in Heaven, and without getting too deep, I struggled a lot, like, mentally thinking about, like, life after death and what happens to us and whatever. And one of my coworkers actually bought this for me a few years ago, and I still have yet to read it. I started reading it. I got, how far? I got to page 15. But I do really want to read this because this is like highly critically acclaimed, so have that. This is one that I picked up this year, which my therapist actually recommended to me. This is Fierce Self-Compassion: How Women Can Harness Kindness to Speak Up, Claim Their Power, and Thrive by Kristen Neff, and she is a PhD. Basically exactly what it says on the front. Self-compassion, and yeah, basically how to just like use self-compassion and be kind to yourself and use it to your advantage. This is one that I have tried to read so many times, and honestly it just bores me, so I feel like I don't even know if I'm going to read this one or not. I might actually get rid of this one from my shelf. I might donate it. But it's Tiny Changes and Remarkable Results, Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones by James Clear. I just feel like every time I've tried to read this, I've like fallen asleep, so anyways, but everybody says it is a good book who has read it, so I just feel like self-help books are like not really for me. I need to read more just like actual like nonfiction, like maybe stories or like memoirs or anything like that. So I don't know, we will see. And then this one I just recently picked up, which I am so excited. This is probably going to be the next nonfiction book that I read, but it is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. And everybody just says that this is like just such a great book. I think this one came out last year, but basically it just talks about her childhood and growing up as a child star, and I'm like very interested to read this book. Okay, now we're into all of my nonfiction books, and I'm just gonna say these are gonna be in very random order. There might be some that are in like a specific order because I try and like condense my bookshelves, but I mean, for the most part, I kind of just throw things up there. So I honestly don't even know what some of these are about, so I might just show them and get on with it. But this is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. This is Persephone is the Goddess of Spring. By title only, the truth is, since she was a little girl, flowers have shriveled at her touch. After moving to New Athens, she hopes to lead an unamusing life disguised as a mortal journalist. Basically, it's kind of like a Greek mythology kind of retelling from what I can see, like Hades, the god of dead. So I'm assuming that that's kind of what this is. But I like have seen this a lot like in like bookstores and stuff, and I've been like interested to pick it up. But I found it at the thrift store and it literally was like brand new. So I picked that one up. Another one, again, that's just like a New York bestseller that I found at the thrift store. Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ning? Don't know how to say that last name. But I think this is more of like a suburban thriller. Yeah, kind of like a suburban thriller. So that one. Again, another thrift store find, The Lies You Told by Harriet Tice. This one, again, suburban thriller about like a mom, and like how like the child, like her child goes to a new school, and it's like the other moms there are like mean or whatever, and like this lady, I'm assuming, goes crazy. But that one. This is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. This one I actually don't really know much about, but it says, what happens when you do the right thing for the wrong reasons? Oh, this is kind of like a found family type book, but my friend Claire read this a few years ago, and at the time she said it was really good, and I just never really picked it up. But it was $5 at the thrift store, so of course I picked it up. Oh no, I have read that one. I can leave that one on the shelf. Okay. This is excessive, you guys. This is just the first stack. Okay. Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. Obviously this is just like a well-known book. I think everybody knows this book. I've been waiting to read this though in the summer. My mom read this in the summer and she said like just like when she was reading it outside, it was just very like atmospheric, I guess. She basically was just like, it just is like a book meant to be read outside. So anyway, The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This is like a thriller. I was really in like a thriller era when I read, I think I read Verity and Silent Patient around the same time, and I went ham on the thrillers, and I have yet to read any others. So, I mean, maybe this will be the thriller year, but I feel like thrillers need to be read around like October. September, October, November, I feel like our thriller season. So, The Guest List by Lucy Foley. Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica, maybe? Again, lady goes missing. Kind of a thriller. This one is Not a Happy Family by Sherry Lapina. I was really excited actually to read this one, and then I've heard a lot of like mixed reviews about it, so now I'm just kind of like not as excited for it. But anyway, I also hate books that are this size. Like this is the normal size of a book, you know what I mean? And then like it's like these extra large type books, and then they have these like weird pages where they're like uneven. I don't know why, but like I think like Indigo does a lot of those kind of books, so not my fave. This one is Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. This one, I've watched the movie, never read the book. My friend said it's like one of her favorite books, so I wanted to read it. Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen M. McManus, I believe. I read her first books, One of Us is Lying, and I really, really loved that book. So I picked this one up, I think, from the thrift store. So yeah, YA. Gillian Flynn, Gone Girl. Again, seen the movie, haven't read the book, and I seen the movie like so long ago, so I feel like I like don't remember really what happened. So I feel like I could still read this and like be surprised. Another YA book. This is The Nature of Witches, and I literally knew nothing about this book when I bought it. The reason I bought it was because this is what the hardcover looks like. Stunning. But it's actually like a fantasy. It's like fantasy set in real world kind of, but there's different witches like spring, winter, summer, and fall, and they all have different powers, and yeah, it's kind of cute. I started reading it last year, and then I kind of, again, I was chaotically reading, and I started another book, so eventually we will get to it. The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. This is actually pretty cool because this is actually signed by Margaret Atwood to myself, because when I was in grade 12, we hosted a reader and writer conference at my high school, and like our like class hosted it. So we actually had Margaret Atwood as our keynote speaker, which is kind of crazy no matter where you're from, but especially Canada, because she's a Canadian author that's like very, very well known. But I remember I bought this solely for the purpose of reading it throughout the year. Never did, because we were just like so busy, like in high school I like never had time to read. But I bought this and I was like, I need a Margaret Atwood to sign this, so got it signed, but I still have not read it, and I really want to read it. Still haven't watched the TV show either because I want to read it first. This is The Paper Palace by Miranda Cowley Heller. I don't really know what this one's about, honestly. Oh, I think this is another kind of like suspense thriller type thing. Unraveling secrets, lies in a very complex love triangle. Saw it at Costco one day and I picked it up, so you'll notice that's a trend. Saw it, why not? A classic book talk FOMO purchase. This is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. If you know, The Song of Achilles actually is normally blue, but Indigo came out with an exclusive cover that was black, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need that, even though I had really no interest in reading this. But at some point I will read it. And again, that was like a book talk one that was like, everybody loved it, and I was like, oh, I'd love to try and read that, but I'm just not really sure I'm into the Greek mythology. I don't know, but maybe we'll read it. Maybe we'll find out. The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. This one has gotten, again, like pretty mixed reviews. I was kind of excited when I read like the synopsis of it, because it's like this guy goes missing and he gives a note to his wife and basically says like protect her at all costs about his daughter. And basically they have to like try and find him, I think. But anyways, I really wanted to read this, and then of course it's sat on my shelf forever, and then now it's like gotten like pretty like mixed bad reviews, so I just like kind of have drifted away from wanting to read it. Okay, well that's my full first shelf, and I'll tell you right now there are 4 books on this shelf that I have read, so that's any indication of how this is gonna go. This is perfect though, because I really wanted to reorganize my bookshelves, and now I can. Here. Okay, I've read a lot more of the ones on this shelf, so that's a good sign. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Another full stack. So this is, whoa, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Again, another one of those like fiction books that a lot of people hyped up, and I bought it, and I've just been kind of dreading to read it because a couple people, again, it's like this one's very polarizing. I feel like people either hate it or they love it. And a lot of people that hate it say it's just very, very slow and redundant. And I feel like that's the point of the book, but also I'm nervous to read it because if a book is slow for me, I really just drift and I can't focus. So we'll see if I'll ever be able to read that. The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. These obviously went around like crazy last year, and I did actually start reading this. I got to chapter 13, page 52. I don't know. I really, again, it's just my chaotic reading where I started reading and then I started reading another book, and then I just kind of like left this on its own. Nothing was really happening fast enough for me with how much people were being like, this is such a fast-paced book. I was like, this isn't really that fast-paced, because I just feel like I'm not really getting it, but I feel like eventually I will get into this book and I will fly through it and I'll love it. So Bridgerton, the Duke and I by Julia Quinn. This I solely bought because I loved the show when it first came out, and then honestly haven't watched any seasons since and haven't read the book either. So I think I actually might get rid of this one. I don't really know, honestly. I don't know. Maybe I'll read it one day. I don't really know. I'm really questioning my life choices, honestly, right now, going through all these books. 12 Dates of Christmas. Obviously, I can't read that right now. I definitely have just wanted to read this around Christmas time and haven't. So this Christmas, this will be read. Okay, this book, actually, Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone. I purchased this book. I wish I could tell you when. Easily, probably over 5 years ago. Actually, can I see when this was printed? So first paperback edition was printed in June 2017, and that probably checks out of when I would have purchased this book, and I have not read it. And I almost got rid of it, actually, a couple weeks ago, months ago, not weeks ago, a couple months ago. I actually almost got rid of this book because I was like, I don't know if I'd read it or whatever, and then all of a sudden it's been blowing up on TikTok, and I'm like, what the heck? So now I went through my books that I was going to donate and I took it back. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll read it one day. But it's basically, everybody says it has really good mental health representation for a girl with OCD. So it's a YA book as well. Little Women. I watched Little Women for the first time, like the movie, last year, I think. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to read the book, and I just haven't. But I really do want to read this. I feel like I want to read this in the summer or the spring. I feel like this will be like a perfect summer or spring read, even though I know a lot of it does take place throughout the year, but I just feel like, you know, it's like a cutesy, kind of like Anne of Green Gables type, you know. The Selection by Kira Cass. This was one, again, that I found at a thrift store, and I was like, oh, I feel like I would want to read this. It's like that dystopian kind of thing. But it's basically like The Bachelor meets royalty. I don't know. Anyways, I picked it up. I still haven't started it yet, but these are actually some of my newest books I've added to my TBR. This is The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. This one I've seen all over TikTok, and like people on TikTok, they do the things where it's like they'll like talk about this story and like make it sound like it's them, and then they're like, if you liked that story, like liked me telling that story, that's this book by whatever. And I was like, some girl did that and it was The Flat Share, and I was like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. But basically it's about this guy and this girl, and they share an apartment, but they never see each other, so it's fine. But then eventually, I'm assuming, they fall in love. So that's The Flat Share. This is a newer one, Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This is about a hockey player and a figure skater romance. I don't know if it's like enemies to lovers or what, but kind of sounds like enemies to lovers. Yeah, anyways, I love a hockey romance, so must be the Canadian in me. This is Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. This is the second book in a Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. And I was only ever planning on reading the first book because you can read the first book and it's perfectly wrapped up. You don't really have to read the next couple. But then a bunch of you guys were actually telling me read the rest of them. So when we were in the States like last week, I picked this up because it was literally $8. So I was like, okay, I'll get it and then I'll read it. Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. Here's my thing. I read Eleanor and Park when I was like 15 or 16 and I really didn't love it. But when I got back into thrifting the last few years, I found this and I was like, oh, I wonder if I would like this one, because a lot of people did say it was pretty good. But it's like basically about this like girl and she writes fanfic, and yeah, anyways, kind of cute. I've been wanting to read these ones so bad, but I just never do. So these are the Twisted Tale series. They're like all Disney related books. But this one is Straight On Till Morning, and this is What If Wendy First Traveled to Neverland with Captain Hook. So instead of Peter Pan, she's with Captain Hook. So we assume she goes bad. But I really want to read these, but I don't know why I haven't yet, honestly. I feel like I've just been drawn towards other ones, but my mother-in-law actually got me this one and then this other one for Christmas 2 years ago, I think, and I still have not read them. So not last year, the year before. Yeah, 2 years ago. But there's that one. And then we also have What Once Was Mine. What if Rapunzel's mother drank a potion from the wrong flower? So again, interesting topics, interesting kind of ideas. Yeah, okay. Next shelf. Now I have to stand up. Okay, actually not that bad. So the first shelf was definitely the worst. That's what I read the least from. These next ones were actually not too bad. These now are all of my like romantic comedy kind of books. And these are the ones that I do love to read the most, honestly. I go back and forth, but these are like the tried and true what got me back into reading as an adult. Fantasy has hooked me for a little while, but I do really love these. So this is Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. Honestly, I'm probably gonna say the same thing for every single one of these books, but heard a lot about this on TikTok. Everybody says it's really good. It's like friends to lovers, childhood friends to enemies to lovers kind of deal, or childhood friends to lovers. I don't really know 100%. But yeah, just like a really sweet, cutesy kind of romance. Everybody says it's gonna make you cry, so, you know. I've been talking for too long. People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I love Beach Read. Beach Read is like easily one of my favorite books because it really did get me back into reading, but it was also just like so good. And I bought this one because I was like, oh, I feel like I'm gonna like it, and then I never ended up reading it. Then I bought Book Lovers and read that first, which is her third book, and I didn't really love that one, so I've been nervous to read this one because for the longest time I was saying, oh, Emily Henry's my favorite author, but right now it's like I have one that I love by her and one that I hate by her, so this is really going to be the telltale of if I really do think Emily Henry's my favorite author. This is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. If you watched my goals for this year, I talked about my favorite books, my top 5 favorite books of last year, and The Love Hypothesis was on that list. This is by the same author. Everybody says it's a very similar storyline where it's like Grumpy Sunshine kind of romance. But yeah, anyways. Have that one. This is Every Summer After by Carly Fortune, I think. This one I'm excited to read because it's based in Muskoka, which is actually like about an hour away from where I live. So I feel like a lot of the plot points I will be like, hey, I know what they're talking about here. But I actually did start this one, again, chaotic reading. I was on page 22 and I just like wasn't getting into it. So I feel like this summer I will definitely read this. And if you're from America, this is the Canadian version of the cover, which honestly I love. I like your cover, but I also really like this cover. Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. Controversial opinion, but I don't like Tessa Bailey very much, but I liked the characters of this one. If you don't know, this is the second one. The first one to this book is It Happened One Summer, which is about Piper and Brendan, and then basically the love interests in this book are Piper's sister Hannah, I believe, and Fox, who is Brendan's friend. And I liked their characters better in It Happened One Summer, so that's why I decided to pick this one up, because I'm like, I feel like I'd like it. And then I started reading and it's in third person, so didn't love that. But it's kind of cool because in this one they have like text messages and stuff, so I like when books add that kind of like different aspect. These ones, this is kind of funny. So this is the second one. So my friend read these books, and they're one of those ones where like you can read it out of order. Like there's like I think it's a trilogy or a duology, but you can read them out of order. So my friend said, oh, you should read Hang the Moon. And I was like, okay. So I bought it, haven't read it, you know, got into it, but didn't read it. And then I was at the thrift store the other day and I found the first book. So I was like, okay, well, I have to get it because I have the other one at home. So anyways, this is Hang the Moon and Written in the Stars by Alexandria Belfleur. Written in the Stars is the first, and then the second is Hang the Moon. Don't really know much about them, but again, those like cutesy kind of rom-com books we love. And this is the last book on my physical TBR. This is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I am really excited to read this book, actually. This is like sweet little rom-com kind of book, YA, and nobody knock YA until you read YA, because they really are like the cream of the crop of like cutesy, sweet, kind of cringy, but like very, very sweet. So I'm excited to read this hopefully soon. Okay, but that is my entire physical TB. Oh wait, no, I lied. I just saw these out of the corner of my eye. Okay. These are part of a series. So I read The Cruel Prince 2 years ago, and I bought these books and still have not read them. I want to read them now, though. After I finish ACOTAR, I'm like, okay, I'm in my fantasy era, so I feel like I'll reread The Cruel Prince and then I'll read these. So The Wicked King and The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. Again, it's the second and third book in the series or trilogy. And it's a fantasy YA. Okay, now that is everything for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope this holds me accountable and I don't be buying any more books. And if you guys see me buying more books on here, on my TikTok or on my YouTube, call me out and say, Katelyn, you have a hell of a lot of books to read. You shouldn't be buying any more. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, leave a thumbs up. If you've read any of these books, let me know which ones are your favorites out of the ones that you have read, because hopefully it'll persuade me to read some of these sooner rather than later. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!